Welcome to Leadership Word Power, episode 21. I love you. Welcome home, leadership friends. Now I know what you're thinking. He loves me and he doesn't even know me. But hang tight because I know your potential can be improved with words. Words have the power and they influence people. They speak and write just words. John Maxwell tells us leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, and that everything rises and falls on leadership. So our word choices and how we deliver them are critically important. If you're among the first 5 people to email me, I will send you a copy of the Book of the Four Agreements by a gentleman named Ruiz. The Four Agreements by a gentleman named Ruiz. He offers in the book the idea that one of the 4 agreements that we should have with ourselves to live by is being impeccable with your word. This can be important for those working on leadership and self-leadership in particular, like ending a negative addiction. You say you will stop, but are you lying to yourself? That's not being impeccable with your word. Make an agreement to be impeccable with your word. You mean what you say, and you do what you say you're going to do. And further, if you look at the root word of impeccable, it means without sin. To sin is to be human, or it is a human thing to sin. But we strive to do our best. Impeccable is one of our leadership power words. Today, we're tackling the most misused word in leadership, hate. If your family or your colleagues have ever said, I hate that competitor, or I hate that team, I hate broccoli, or even I hate Cracker Barrel's new look, which was all over LinkedIn earlier this week. This episode may be just for you. My dad's rule about hate growing up, my dad hardly corrected us. He often let us do what we wanted. My siblings might disagree with me, but until someone said they hated someone, that's when he got animated. He'd stop you right there in your tracks and say, you can't hate a person. There's always something to like about them. They have arms, you have arms, or something like that. Perhaps more profound. Sorry, Dad. Anyway, that's leadership wisdom born in a father's kitchen. Linguistically, calling somebody your enemy forces your brain to chip away at their value. And we know that leadership is about valuing other people, and it removes room for hope and reconciliation. Think about biblical wisdom of Proverbs 18:21. The tongue has the power of life and death. Many of us have heard that many times. Words are never neutral. They shape reality. Once you say, I hate you, you've driven a nail into a fence board of the relationship. You can pull the nail out of the fence board, but the hole in the fence board still remains. So share this with your friends and your family, the nail in the fence concept. Share it with your class, your classmates, those you care about, because words leave marks. Even kids get this. It's a nice way to end an apology and recognizing that you may have hurt somebody and you may realize that you have to do work to refill that hole that you caused, that pain that you caused. Let's talk from a sociological lens. Not something I do very often, but I am a social scientist. Hate speech does not equal harmless words. Susan Benech, Benesch, Harvard's director of the Dangerous Speech Project, studies how certain forms of speech, especially casual, normalized hate talk, she calls it, can increase the risk of violence in polarized communities. Harvard's Dangerous Speech Project shows how phrases like, I hate that group, though seemingly harmless and just words, actually lays societal foundation for a deeper division. William Labov, might be Russian Labov, Labov, a foundational sociolinguist at the University of Pennsylvania, taught us that language doesn't just describe, it constructs our social reality. When we label somebody an enemy, our minds interpret them as less human, again, devaluing them. And leadership, we want to have positive leadership, not devaluing leadership. Justifying distance and division is not what we're about. And that also runs counter to Matthew 5:44. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Jesus acknowledged enemies exist. We're not denying that, but called us to love them. Easier said than done at times, but sometimes we remove the poison and pain from us when we forgive and attempt a loving approach. Let's go to culture and branding. Culture is one of the biggest levers in leadership, and branding of hate versus love shows up all around us. Again, Cracker Barrel recently rebranded, and some people said, I hate it. Now, hate where you hate a font and changes to color palettes, that's ridiculous, isn't it? But it honestly is part of the reason I'm doing this episode. We talk about haters, but contrast that by something that Nike did. They embraced the values and equity of rebellion, and they become loved as much as they're polarizing. So I'm going to have more on Andre Agassi in my next episode on color leadership. But are you old enough to remember that tennis expected people to wear all white? White was the only thing you could wear at the country club where I grew up. I didn't have a lot of white clothes. I was a rebel because I knew that country clubs also discriminated against people that were friends of my family, including a black doctor who was the first one to be let into the country club. I was just amazed that somebody who's an MD wouldn't be accepted into a country club. Andre Agassi smashed that mold and got endorsements from Nike and Canon cameras, both of whom were my clients at one time, Nike and Canon. And Canon is one of those giants of innovation that people do not realize had a profound impact on cameras we used and cameras we use now and the printers and copiers, even if the brand was HP. In fact, many of the parts in an old HP printer were patented by Canon. HP had superior printer software, though. You can't knock HP. They've done a lot of things fantastically well. Back to branding. People don't say, I hate that. They say, I love that. That's what you want. Love compounds brand equity. Hate burns it down. Marcus Buckingham was a speaker in one of my events last year, and he directed research for the ADP Institute, and they found that love is the word most associated with a return on investment. And we do leadership investment decisions here. So I can tell you, work on leadership that gets people to love you. If people say they love something, that predicts that they are likely to rebuy, recommend a product. If they do not say they love it, it's unclear what they're going to do next time. So they may not be what we'd call a secured customer. Leadership insight. Do you want to be the Cracker Barrel of leadership, losing trust or goodwill, or the Nike of leadership, bold, memorable, built on love? Nike has focused segments emotional ties and spends as much as 20% of their revenue on advertising. Just do it. By the way, my Uncle Don worked with a partner named Duke Wyden, who was the father of Dan Wyden, who was the inventor of that saying, just do it. Share this. You can share this idea with your class, with classmates, or with those you care about. Brands or leaders that build on love multiply equity. Those that veil hate dilute it. Doesn't work. Your lemonade stand will do better with love. Nonna's pasta is the best, right? Think of that warm, loving way that grandma prepared things and you love it. Kids, candy, and casual hate are something that I would love to diffuse. Kids say, I hate sour candy, but if you hated it, you'd toss the bag, right? But if you get literal with the words, what they mean is this challenges my taste buds, but hate is easier. Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck shows us that the words we use shape how we think and act. I hate math. Wires your brain to avoid it. That's not just talk, it's cognitive wiring. James 3:5 reminds us the tongue is set on fire by hell. A small spark can set a great forest ablaze. Words spark behaviors, right? Leadership isn't about throwing fuel on fires, it's about carrying water, relieving people's pains. As we go into another part of this podcast, I want to think about alternatives to hate. Let's detox our vocabulary. I hate that team. Turn that into that team tests my patience. I hate broccoli. Broccoli challenges my taste buds. I hate my boss. I struggle with my boss's leadership and their leadership style. All of a sudden, you've become honest and open, but you're not alienating. And obviously, you'd want to put that into your own words. I just filtered the words to make it obvious. And if you really want that court jester vibe, I don't hate broccoli. Broccoli is just an abusive relationship with my taste buds. I actually love steamed broccoli with salt and butter. My wife doesn't like to steam it as long as I do, but anyway, broccoli soup is pretty good too. Enemies, empathy, and human hearts. Think of the human heart. Yes, there are evil people in human history, but even evil people have hearts. They bleed, they dream, they weep, and protect. They're more like us than we sometimes see on the news shows. Ephesians 4:31-32 charges us, let all bitterness go. Be kind and tenderhearted. forgiving each other, just as God in Christ forgave you. We all make mistakes and we all want to be forgiven. Forgive me if I've offended anybody with my podcast, but leadership isn't ignoring evil. It's not saying it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that you forget that somebody slighted you. It's just refusing to let hate become the lens by which you look at the world. Share this with your class, your family, your classmates, or those who you care about. We are more alike than we are different. Hate denies our shared humanity. Love affirms it. The real law of attraction is really love. And I believe this. Joe Dispenza and some other people try and prove it. I do believe that vision boards can help, but forget vision boards for a moment. Leadership magnetism is love. John Maxwell said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Harvard's Arthur Brooks says, happiness stems from giving and receiving love, not division. I got his new book recently, so he's top of mind for me. Leaders who speak love attract trust. Leaders who speak hate attract fear, and fear doesn't last, and employees may leave. My dad was right. Hate closes door, love opens them. Let me ask you, when have you said, I hate something, and really didn't mean it? What happens if you ban hate for a week? Maybe test it out, or catch yourself while watching football when you hate the other team or hate something during the season watching sports. If opponents loved competition, we might not have a soccer riot, right? But when we hate the other team and the audience hates the other team, conflict and drama can ensue that hurts people. Who needs your softened language? Not to change them, but to change you and put love in your heart that attracts miracles and abundance in the right teammates. Don't you want people that speak about love instead of hate around you? Here's your challenge. Go 7 days without saying hate. Replace it with something precise. Impeccable, as we said in the beginning. Watch how it changes your leadership, relationships, and even yourself. Want deeper information? Head to beauleadershipgroup.com and tell me what you're working on and struggling with that we might help with in terms of a winning leadership culture. As I said in the opening, I love you. Welcome home, leadership friends. You belong as a leader, and it will not be easy, but it is worth it because you can make a positive difference in the world. And a positive impact in the world, that's a big gift. And making a big gift in the world is with your words. Remember, the real law of attraction, it isn't charisma or strategy, it's love. Empower your leadership and elevate your image with God in mind. Please share this with your family and friends and people that you care about, including your coworkers. And like and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you subscribe to podcasts. Blow the lid off of your leadership with leadership investment decisions like this episode. Bless your week.